Everybody can see the screen? Let me know if you
Yes.
cannot. Yes?
Not me. The
Okay.
screen's got black. No.
Me too. I can't even
I can't
see
see the
anything.
screen. I can't see the screen
You
because
cannot see the
Ayo.
screen.
because my computer screen just turned black.
Okay, let me then
Me too.
start it over. Let me
I
try
can't see
again.
anything.
Wait a second. I think it's just loading. That's why it's taking so long. But still cannot see. You can see, but some of you cannot see. Okay, let's wait. Let's give it a minute and see if it's gonna work or not. Can everybody see it now? Or still black?
Yes, I can see. Still black.
Still black.
Wait, I can see something. I can
Yes, I
see
can
the
see
title
something.
coming
Okay.
up.
Oh, good.
I think
Now
it's the
not black.
connection. It's the connection issue, okay? The connection, when the
Yes,
connection
I
is
can
slow,
see it
it
now.
takes a very long
Wait,
time
but
to
the
load.
cursor looks much different.
Let me
Okay.
check my Wi-Fi connection anywhere. Oh, here it is.
Yes. Okay, today's story is called Manny's Story. A story about Manny's story. So let's see what it's about. We'll read about Manny, and looks like fishing over here, and that looks like pancake flipping. So it doesn't matter. Let's see. Here we go. A lot of reading for us to do today, but as soon as we finish this book, we're gonna go and read Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la, everybody loves him. And the story about two boys. Okay, I'll start reading and you listen. If the screen is black for you, just wait and the pictures will load. Slow connection. Always connection issues. So difficult. Somebody just joined, very late. Please come on time. It start at 11:30, not 11:36. I'll read. Listen. I'll just read the whole page and I'll ask you to read after that. It was Tuesday afternoon. My cousin Manny was at my house. This is Manny on the right side, and this is his friend. Oh, not his friend, his cousin. Her name is Me. We do not know her name, but it's Me. Okay, she's telling the story, and that's a picture of Manny and his dad fishing. Let's see what it's about. So my cousin
actually,
Manny.
someone else is telling the story. It's
No,
Manny
she's telling
who's
the
telling
story.
the story.
She's telling the story. That's why it says Me, my cousin, her cousin Manny.
No. Yeah,
Let's
her
see to
cousin
find out.
Manny.
Yes.
And you can see those little circles right there.
I'm
which
reading.
means
I'm reading. Listen,
talking about
Manny started to tell a
story.
story. He always told silly stories. One day, now Manny's telling, one day last July, Dad and I went fishing, said Manny. We took our boat to the lake. Dad parked his car in a vacant parking lot. Vacant means unoccupied, not many cars are there, it's empty, so you can park your car easily. He parked his car in a vacant, that's how you pronounce it, parking lot. We didn't see anyone else there. Then we put the boat in the water. That's the boat, it's in the water now. They went fishing. So far, Manny had not said one silly thing. So far, it's a good story, a normal story. I waited for Manny to say something silly. Dad and I sat in that rickety, leaky, old boat for weeks, Manny said. Rickety, it means the one that makes kind of the noise. When you open the door, that is very old, it squeaks. Well, that boat is very old too. It makes that old wooden noise. And leaky means there are some holes in it and water comes into the boat. Yes, they sat there for weeks, not just for one day, but for weeks. How is that possible? Then he said, we had nothing to eat but weeds and seaweeds. That's what they ate. Then it started to snow. His story is kind of funny now. I stopped the story. It snowed? You said this fishing trip happened in July. July is summer, it's very hot. July is in summer when it is too hot to snow. Manny kept talking. I didn't sleep for days, but I didn't go home. I had to catch a fish. That's his story. He always makes silly stories. That's what she said. Let's read this page together. Everybody's ready? Start. It was Tuesday afternoon. Cousin Manny was at my house. Manny started to tell a story. He always told silly stories. One day last July, Dad and I went fishing, said Manny. We took our boat to the lake. Dad parked his car in a vacant parking lot. We didn't see anyone else there. Then we put the boat in the water. So far, Manny had not said one silly thing. I waited for Manny.
This fishing happened. This fishing trip happened in July. When I was in summer, and it is too hot. When he kept, I didn't sleep for days. I gotta catch a fish.
Evan, you're not reading. Evan, you're just playing. Evan? Evan, you're not reading. You're not interested. It's
We don't have summer. I didn't sleep for days, but I didn't go home. I had to catch fish.
That's right. Evan, will you be reading? No? Will you be just playing? Please read, okay? With everybody else. Evan, don't play with your racket. We have to read books now. Okay, you'll turn the video off. Oh, great. Now you're reading. Thank you. Let's see what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Are they going to catch a big fish? Ooh, that looks like they caught some big fish, doesn't it? Here's the fishing pole. Here's a boat. I hope you can see the picture. And this is the giant scary tuna of Ganemula. That's where we live. That's where the school is, right? I'll read. Listen carefully. I frowned. This story sounded familiar. Like all of many stories, it was very silly. Things like that never happened to real people. Manny never told the truth about anything. Suddenly, Manny said, something pulled on my fishing pole. The boat got jerky, bouncing and splashing in the water. I almost fell out. I knew what was pulling on the pole. It was the giant, scary tuna of Ganemula. Ooh, oh no, sounds scary, doesn't it? Okay, your turn to read this page. Okay, let's read from just only this page. Ready, go. I frowned.
The story sounded familiar. The story sounded familiar. Join the many
Caitlin, are you reading?
Scary tuna in
Caitlin? Caitlin, are you reading? Caitlin, you have to read, okay? Yes, Ganemula. Caitlin, please read, okay? Do not look at your book about sea animals, but let's read together. It's important that you read when everybody reads. Next, page 5. This is the giant scary tuna of Ganemula. I actually changed the name. It was something else. I changed the name so it's something familiar to you. It was a different town. I'll read, listen carefully. The giant scary tuna of Ganemula, I asked. Hey, I live in Ganemula too, remember? There is no giant scary tuna of Ganemula. Manny didn't answer me. He just kept talking. The giant scary tuna tried to escape, he said. The tuna pulled our boat through the water. We went so fast that everything looked blurry. Suddenly, the giant scary tuna blasted out of the water and jumped up over our heads. There she is. Tuna is jumping over their heads, over their boat. It's huge. It's almost as big as some of the sea animals in Caitlin's book about sea animals. That's how big it is, right? Your turn to read. Let's read page 5. Ready, go. The giant scary tuna.
Giant scary tuna pulled our boat through the water. Went to fly and everything. Hurry! Suddenly, the giant scary tuna blasted out of the water and jumped over our heads.
That's right. You can read very well. Good job. Good job. What's gonna happen? Yeah, what's gonna happen? He's telling the story, still telling the story. I smiled. And then I put my hand over my mouth like this because she's smiling, but she doesn't want to see Manny to see that she's smiling. I didn't want Manny to know I liked his story. I knew the story wasn't true, but I liked it anyway. The giant scary tuna was as long as a school bus, Manny said. It was as wide as a house. The tuna stared at me and looked sad. It also looked very angry. How could the tuna look sad and angry at the same time? I asked. Manny kept talking. How can you look both sad and angry at the same time? Can you do that? Show me your face. Show me if you can make a sad and angry face at the same time.
Look. I made the face.
I don't know. It's difficult, sad and angry.
I look like something out of a horror movie, right?
Yes. You look like a monster from a movie.
Made the face.
All right, let's read together. Ready, go. I smiled. And then I put my hand
Sorry, I knew anyway. The giant scary tuna has long as was Manny said stared at me and looked sad and almost very angry.
How could the tuna look sad and angry at the same time? I asked. Manny kept talking. Good, let's see. The giant, scary tuna splashed into the water. It made a huge wave. That's the wave over there. The wave made our boat fly into the air. Our boat flipped over. Dad and I finally flipped the boat back and got in. Oh no, what an adventure. We didn't catch the tuna, but we heard applause. What is applause? When other people are clapping their hands, that's an applause. People were clapping their hands. Applause? I asked. Manny, that's silly. Who was there to clap for you? And why did people clap if you didn't catch the tuna? Why did they clap? What is the story? Let's read together this page. Ready, go. The giant scary tuna That's right. Thank you for reading. You can read very well. Oh, this one is a short page. Look at that. That's Manny's imagination. He imagines that there are many people there and all of them are clapping their hands. People clapping their hands. That's his imagination. His imagination is wild. He imagines so many things. Imagination is very important too. You should have a good imagination. I hope you can see the picture. Can you see it yet? Yes? All right. As long as you can see it, great. I'll read. Listen. Manny just looked at me. There were people in boats all around us, he said. They clapped because the giant scary tuna didn't eat us. Oh, that's why they clapped, because they were not eaten by the giant scary tuna fish. Oh, you're so silly, I said. Tunas do not eat people. I don't believe this story at all, she said. Let's read. Ready, go. Manny just looks at me. There were people in boats all around us, he said. They clapped because the giant scary tuna didn't eat us. Oh, you are so silly, I said. Tunas do not eat people. I don't believe this story at all. That's right. I don't believe this story at all. Now their mother is telling them a story. Who is this guy? His name is Paul Bunyan. There are some stories about Paul Bunyan. I do not know if you know them. Maybe you know some. But their mother is telling them a story about Paul Bunyan. This is what she says. Before she says, Manny says something. Manny got upset. That was a rude thing to say, he told me, because he thinks his story is fun, but it was rude of her to say that his story is not nice. I said, well, I think it's rude that you never tell the truth. Is it that he's lying? He's not lying. He's just making a story, right? My mother was sitting near us. She said, I don't think Manny is lying. He just likes to tell tall tales. Tall tales? Is it the opposite of short tales? What are tall tales? Manny asked. A tall tale is a silly story like the ones you tell. Oh, a story with a lot of imagination, but with a lot of exaggerated details, maybe. It has lots of details that are silly and exaggerated. Exaggerated means something that made bigger than it really is. If you catch a small fish, you say, I caught a huge fish. That's kind of exaggerating. It's not lying. Have you ever heard of Paul Bunyan? Paul who? Manny asked. Well, this guy is Paul Bunyan, and their mom is going to tell them about him after we read this page. Ready? Start.
Manny got
Manny
upset.
got upset.
And he was rude thing to say.
Well, I told you never to one was
Caitlin, please read, Caitlin.
tall tales. Tall tales. Tall tale is a silly one. There's lots of details. Silly and exaggerated. You ever heard of Paul Bunyan? Oh,
There's a lot of
Manny asked.
tears and silly extravagance. Have you heard of
Yes, this word is exaggerated. Exaggerated. Exaggerate means to make bigger than it really is. A difficult word, right? Maybe you've never seen this word before. It's called exaggerate. Exaggerated. Yes. Paul
I've seen this
Bunyan.
word.
Yeah. For example, I can say that last night I was sleeping, okay, and suddenly I hear this buzzing over my ear. I think, well, it must be a mosquito, but when I open my eyes, it's as big as an elephant. Well, see, it's not true, because mosquitoes cannot be as big as an elephant. Maybe in some science fiction movies they can, but really they can't. So it's exaggerating, saying that it's bigger than it really is. That's exaggeration. Moving on to the next page. Mom is going to tell them about Paul Bunyan. Listen carefully. Paul Bunyan was a lumberjack. That's a person who chops wood. So he cut trees, he chopped wood. That's a lumberjack. He was very, very big. The buttons on his shirt were as large as the wheels on a car. There are a lot of tall tales about Paul Bunyan. In one tall tale, Paul fights giant bugs like I did last night. In another tall tale, Paul cooked giant pancakes. But those Paul Bunyan stories aren't true, I said. Many stories aren't true either. They're just imaginary stories. They're tall tales. Let's read this page together. Ready, start. Paul Bunyan was a lumberjack.
Paul Bunyan, lumberjack, wood often was very enormously big. Size as an elephant. There was a lot of legends about Bunny Bun.
In one tall
A
tale,
lot of legends about Paul Bunny Bun.
in another tall tale,
Giant bugs.
stories aren't true. He said, these stories aren't true either.
Kenzo, you're eating and not reading. What's going on? Hungry? Kenzo, have to read right now, right? You can eat a little bit later after we finish or when I read. Okay, Nadia too. Lollipop time is okay. We'll be there soon. Okay, don't eat right now. Don't sleep. Don't play. Listen carefully. When it's your turn to read, please stop eating and read. Let's continue. Page 13. Manny scratched his head like this. I guess I do turn my stories into tall tales, he said, but I do that because I want the stories to be funny and interesting. The giant scary tuna of Ganyamula is funny. The truth is that Dad and I went fishing and didn't catch any fish. That's not funny. So that's why he wants his stories to be funny. That's why he makes them interesting by using his imagination, by exaggerating. Ready? Start. Manny scratched his head.
My stories are tall tales.
Manny scratched his head. I guess
Funny and interesting.
Manny scratched his head.
No,
I guess
Dad and
I
fishing and didn't catch
didn't catch any fish. It's not funny. But I'll do because I want to stories. It's funny. Giant scary tuna. Dad and I went fishing. I didn't.
All right. I heard somebody saying blah, 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 blah. And on this page, somebody read about the elephant, even though there's nothing about the elephant. Yeah, who is that? Natuli? Natuli, are you saying blah, 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 blah? And something about the elephant, was it you, Natuli? That's not nice. Okay. Please don't make noise, okay? Then I have to mute everybody. The last page, and then we'll read about Captain Underpants. Okay, focus, don't play. When we read, you have to read well. Very short page. Okay, I said, I understand. I just wanted you to say that your stories aren't true. Manny said, no, they aren't true. They're tall tales, so they are silly. Want to hear another one? I said, yes. Your turn. Ready, go. Okay, I understand.
Okay, I said I understand. Okay, I said understand. I wanted to say that is untrue. Manny said no, they are true.
Yes.
I said yes. Bye.
That's true. That's very good. Oh, you need to go and pee. Please don't tell me that you have to go and pee. You can just go and pee. Great. Yeah. You ready for the Captain Underpants? I hope you are. Let's talk about tall
Sir, can I
tales.
go to the bathroom?
Yes,
can
yes,
I go
please
to the bathroom?
go. Please go. Go,
My
go, go.
bladder is going to explode.
Yes, go quickly and come back as soon as possible. Go, go, go. We're gonna start Captain Underpants. Go. Let's talk about tall tales too. Do you like telling tall tales? I like telling tall tales sometimes. It's kind of fun. It's interesting. telling somebody about something that really didn't happen to you, well, using your imagination. Did we stop on chapter 7 last week? We stopped here, right?
No, we didn't. We stopped on chapter 8.
Stopped on chapter 8.
When they were
That's
doing
right,
a
that's
little
right. So
torture, something
he
like that.
gave them the rules to follow, right?
Yeah, he
That's
gave
right.
them the
That's where we
rules.
stopped. He
Crime
gave them
and
the
punishment.
rules.
This
Many,
one,
many
crime
rules.
and punishment.
Yes, things to do every day. That's right. He's really, really evil, isn't he? The evil principal of the school. Sorry, what?
Evil? Oi, like that's is he evil?
He is. He's not evil, but he's very. He doesn't like children. That's why. He doesn't like children, and he doesn't like these two boys, George and Harold. He hates them with all his guts, with all his heart, because they're always playing pranks and laughing and joking. So let's start. I hope Dinat is back by now from the washroom. Are you back already, Dinat? You're very quick. Or you didn't go?
Yeah, I didn't. I go.
You went.
I just went super
Okay.
fast so I don't miss the story.
Oh, you have superpowers.
No, I don't have superpowers.
You're as
but I
quick
can
as a flash.
with
The
Dubai
fastest
people.
man alive. All right, chapter 8, crime and punishment. Let's see what's gonna happen to poor George and Harold. At 6 o'clock the next morning, George and Harold dragged themselves out of bed, walked over to Mr. Krupp's house, and began washing his car. Oh no, at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then, while Harold scrubbed the tires, George roamed around the yard, pulling up all the weeds and crabgrass he could find. Afterward, they cleaned the gutters and washed all the windows on Mr. Krupp's house. So much work to do for little poor Harold and George. At school, George and Harold sat up straight, listened carefully, and spoke only when spoken to. They didn't tell jokes, they didn't pull pranks, they didn't even smile. Their teacher kept pinching herself. I just know this is a dream, she said, because people believe if you pinch yourself in a dream, you would wake up because you cannot feel pain in a dream. Dreams usually, you don't feel any pain. So it must be a dream, she's saying. At lunch, the two boys vacuumed Mr. Krupp's office, shined his shoes, and polished his desktop. At recess, they clipped his fingernails and ironed his tie. Each spare moment in the boys' daily schedule was spent catering to Mr. Krupp's every whim. Every little thing he wanted, they had to do it for him. They don't look happy. They look like slaves right now. Poor George and Harold. After school, George and Harold mowed Mr. Krupp's lawn, tended his garden, and began painting the front of his house. At sunset, Mr. Krupp came outside and handed each boy a stack of books. They're carrying the stack of books. Gentlemen, he said, I've asked your teachers to give you both extra homework. Now go home, study hard, and I'll see you back here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. We've got a busy day ahead of us. Thank you, sir, moaned the two boys. George and Harold walked home dead tired. Man, this was the worst day of my entire life, said George. Don't worry, said Harold. We only have to do this for 8 more years because they're in grade 4 right now, and in the school you have 12 years. In Sri Lanka, 13, but if you're doing Cambridge, you have 12 years.
My battery is off.
Plug it in. Or if you miss this part of the lesson, watch it later online. Then we can move away to some far-off land where they'll never find us, maybe Antarctica, so nobody can hurt them for ruining the football game. I've got a better idea, said George. What is George's better idea? Let's see. What? Let's see what it is. Hey, kids, it's the 3D Hypno Ring. Learn the art of hypnosis. Amaze your friends, control your enemies, rule the world. It's easy, it's fun, only $2.99. It's about $3. $1 is about roughly 200 rupees. So 3 times 200 equals 600 rupees. Sorry, what, Natuli?
Can I leave?
Leave when your battery dies. If your battery goes off, then you'll have to leave. If your battery is still alive, it means you can stay here just for 7 more minutes. We'll finish at 12:10, okay? He took a piece of paper out of his pocket, this piece of paper, and handed it to Harold. It was an old magazine ad for the 3D Hypno Ring. How's this going to help us? Asked Harold. All we gotta do is hypnotize Mr. Krupp, said George. We'll make him give us the video and forget this whole mess ever happened. That's a great idea, said Harold. And the best part is we only have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. What? How long do they have to wait? It says over there, 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. That's how long it's gonna take for this ring to come to their house. About 1 month and a half. Very, very long time. Chapter 9, 4 to 6 weeks later. After 4 to 6 weeks of back-breaking slave labor, grueling homework assignments, and humiliating good behavior at school, a package arrived in George's mailbox from the Little Wise Guy Novelty Company. That's the company that makes these rings. It was the 3D Hypno Ring, and that's their address. That's where they live. How are they going to use it? Hallelujah, cried George. It's everything I ever hoped for. Let me see, said Harold. Don't look directly at it, warned George. You don't want to get hypnotized, do you? Hypnotized. Do you really think it will work? Asked Harold. Do you really think we can amaze our friends, control our enemies, and take over the world just like the ad says? It better work, said George, or else we just wasted 4 whole bucks. Yes, they wasted money if it doesn't work. Hopefully it will work. Let's see if it works in chapter 10. Chapter 10, the 3D Hypno Ring. The next morning, George and Harold didn't arrive early at Mr. Krupp's house to wash his car and reshingle his roof. In fact, they were even a little late getting to school. Why are they so late? Why are they late? When they finally showed up, Mr. Krupp was standing at the front door waiting for them. And boy, was he mad. He looks very mad. See those lines above his head? They are the anger lines. Boiling anger lines from heat. He's so hot of anger. What is he going to do? What are they going to do? Natuli, what? You have to go?
My battery is going to die.
I see. Well, yeah, I can still see you. You're still here. It didn't die yet. Just wait until it gets to 0, okay? Mr. Krupp escorted the boys into his office and slammed the door. All right, where were you two this morning? He growled. We wanted to come over to your house, said George, but we were busy trying to figure out the secret of this ring. What ring? Snapped Mr. Krupp. George held up his hand and showed the ring to Principal Krupp. Do you see my ring? It doesn't hypnotize you, but it's a golden ring. It's got one of those weird patterns on it, said Harold. If you stare at it long enough, a picture appears. Well, hold it still, snarled Mr. Krupp. I can't see the darn thing. I have to move it back and forth, said George, or else it won't work. Mr. Krupp's eyes followed the ring back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You have to stare deeper into the ring, said Harold. Deeper, 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 deeper. You're getting sleepy, said George. Very sleepy. Mr. Krupp's eyelids began to droop. I'm so sleepy, he mumbled. After a few minutes, Mr. Krupp's eyes were closed tight and he began to snore. You are under our spell, said George. When I snap my fingers like this, you will obey our every command. Snap. I will obey, mumbled Mr. Krupp. All right, said George. Have you still got that videotape of me and Harold? Yes, mumbled Mr. Krupp. Well, hand it over, bub, George instructed. Mr. Krupp unlocked a large file cabinet and opened the bottom drawer. He reached in and handed George the videotape. George stuffed it into his backpack. Harold took a different video out of his backpack and put it into the file cabinet. "What's that video?" asked George. "It's one of my little sister's old Boomer and Purple Dragon sing-along videos." "Nice touch," said George. Do we have time for one more chapter? Natuli, are you still there? You're still there. Your battery is still alive. One more chapter? Okay, chapter 11, fun with hypnosis. When Harold bent down, yeah, okay, only two. Maybe let's try. When Harold bent down to close the file cabinet, he took a quick look inside. "Wow," or "Whoa," he cried. "Look at all the stuff in here." The file cabinet was filled with everything Mr. Crop had taken away from the boys over the years. There were slingshots, whoopee cushions, skateboards, fake doggy doo-doo, you name it. It was in there. "Look at this," cried George. "A big stack of Captain Underpants comics. He's got every issue," said Harold. What are they making him do now? For hours, the two boys sat on the floor laughing and reading their comics. Finally, George looked up at the clock. "Yikes," he said. "It's almost lunchtime. We better clean up this mess and get to class." The boys looked up at their principal, who had been standing behind them in a trance all morning. "Gee, I almost forgot about Mr. Crop," said Harold. "What should we do with him? Do you want to have some fun?" asked George. "Why not?" said Harold. "I haven't had any fun in the last 4 to 6 weeks." "Cool," said George. He walked up. Yes?
Now 12 cannot eat.
Yeah, let's finish this chapter and then we'll finish the lesson. "Cool," said George. He walked up to Mr. Crop and snapped his fingers. Snap. "You are a chicken," he said. Suddenly, Mr. Crop leaped onto his desk and flapped his arms. "Cluck, cluck, 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 cluck." He cried, kicking his papers off the desk behind him and pecking at his pen and pencil set. George and Harold howled with laughter. Let me try, said Harold. You are a monkey." "Oh, you gotta snap your fingers," said George. "Oh yeah," said Harold. "Snap, you are a monkey." Suddenly, Mr. Crop sprang off his desk and began swinging from the fluorescent light fixtures. "Oh, oh, 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 oh," he shrieked, leaping from one side to the room of the room to the other. George and Harold laughed so hard they almost cried. My turn, said George. "Let's see. What should we turn him into next?" I know," Harold said, holding up a Captain Underpants comic. "Let's turn him into Captain Underpants." "Good idea," said George. "Snap, you are now the greatest superhero of all time, the amazing Captain Underpants." Mr. Crop tore down the red curtain from his office window and tied it around his neck like a superhero's cape. Then he took off his shoes, socks, shirt, pants, and his awful toupee, his wig. "Tra-la-la," he sang. Mr. Crop stood before them, looking quite triumphant, with his cape blowing in the breeze of the open window. George and Harold were dumbfounded. "You know," said George, "he kind of looks like Captain Underpants." "Yeah," Harold replied. After a short silence, the two boys looked at each other and burst into laughter. George and Harold had never laughed so hard in all their lives. Tears ran down their faces as they rolled about the floor, shrieking in hysterics. After a while, George pulled himself up from the floor for another look. "Hey," George cried, "where'd he go? Where did he go? He's running away. The principal of the school is running away in his underwear, singing tra-la-la. What's gonna happen to him? We'll find out next time." Oh, today is our last lesson because next week we have exams. You have exams next week and our time is over, so we have to finish right now. Good luck on your exams. I'll see you in grade 4. I'll see you in grade 4, okay? Good luck on your exams, everyone. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Hope you have fun. Bye-bye. 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 Bye.
Thank you, sir. God
Bye.
bless
Welcome.
Bye.
God
God
bless
bless
you
you.
too.
May all your
You
wishes
too.
come true.
you, sir. Bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye. What happened to the chat room? So many chats in the chat room. Who? Denit and Hansana
Oh my God, there are
and
thousands of
Caitlin.
messages.
Yes, they were not listening. They were just typing.
I can't-
Dinette,
Some of them are mine.
Hansana too. Yes. Kenzo is like, please listen. Yeah.
Nobody listens these days. Okay, let me
Okay.
type something.
Nanuka too. They weren't listening. They were just chatting. I have to
I sent
disable
something.
the chat room. All right. Goodbye, everyone.